So hey everybody, this is William McCanless again and John Acosta, and this is part 3 of our 4-part video series where we're kind of helping you get geared up for 2013 and as a freelancer, trying to get you all the information you need to get started up and start making money for the new year. I like that. This means good job.
Absolutely. You know what's even better is I'm actually not in a pink dress right now, so it's a bonus for me.
Yeah, what's up with everybody? If this is your first time getting this email, you haven't checked out parts 1 or 2, you would notice that at the end of those, which you should have been watching to the end, we're trying to get people to vote for John to wear a pink dress. If 10 people vote for him to wear a pink dress, that would be great. So far, we've only just gotten relevant questions to things, which is really ridiculous. I mean,
I know, right?
That's fine. But at the end of your relevant question, you could say, I want to see John in a pink dress.
And if you don't want to see me in a dress in general, I understand that makes sense too. But come on, let's have a little fun here, guys.
Well, there's
that bad at a dress.
The very fact that I'm so adamant about seeing you in a pink dress might be my problem.
Might be deterring them from actually wanting me to be seen in a pink dress.
I might need to reevaluate everything in my life.
You got something to tell us, Will? Anyway, no, we're being...
That's part 4. Stick around. All right, so William discovers his sexual identity.
Yeah, right.
So basically, we last video we talked about bidding and how to go through that. We wrote a very detailed report on everything that you need to do in order to bid on a job. But what we didn't really get into was payments and how to handle your money as a freelancer.
Right.
And if you follow our advice on the last 2 videos and you get yourself set up, you find your niche, you get on there and you start bidding on jobs, you will start making money. But there is certain things you need to do to make sure that you have enough money around, that you charge correctly for the amount of time spent for jobs. So let's kind of get into that first, which is charging what you're worth.
Right.
Which John and I, it took us a really long time to get to that point. For example, just really quick, today I got paid $150 for a 30-second script. The script took me about an hour. If it had been 2 years ago, I would have probably charged maybe $40 for that same script. And because probably I would have been thinking it's only 30 seconds and it'll only take me an hour, it won't take me that long, so I'm only going to charge $40. So there's a big gap between $40 and $200, and it's all on that journey of discovering what you're worth and how much people will pay for you. So let's kind of get into that really quick.
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, there's a quote that I have that I kind of live by nowadays, and I think I've told you this before, Will, but a mentor of mine back in the day named Lou Freeman, she's a world-renowned photographer. When I was first starting out and she was my mentor...
Look at John dropping names.
In videography. Yeah, so she was mentoring me, with just understanding the industry of photography and videography. And I remember one day she told me, there's something to say about pricing, and that is that if you're not getting questions asked about your pricing, you're not doing something right. You're doing something wrong. You're undercharging. You're underselling yourself.
People aren't asking you about your pricing.
Right. If they're not asking you, then obviously you're charging probably less than you should be. You want them to be asking about your pricing because you want them to understand what it is that you're charging in general. So I think it's really important to charge what you think you're worth. Personally, me, like for instance, and I don't mean to boast here at all, but I'm just saying I've worked up to this point where I can now charge $125 an hour for shooting and editing, and that's something. It's very generous, but it's also what I'm worth, and I believe that 100%. And
where did you get started at? Like what pricing were you charging in the beginning?
I've come a long way. 8 years ago, I was charging somewhere around $10 an hour. Just for shooting with equipment that costs a lot of money. Like we're talking $3,000 cameras, and then $6,000 cameras, and a team of people that I'd have to pay as well. But starting out, it's a matter of jumping over that hurdle. You're not worth just $10. You're putting your entire body into this, and your entire life into this career you want to build up as a freelancer, whatever it is you do. You want to charge what you're worth, because what you're worth is what you think you're worth. I mean, you can't put a price and say, oh, this is me, and then just go with that the entire time. Okay, you're building a portfolio, and as you build this portfolio, you want to rev up to it, but likewise charge more as well, and you have the ability to do that. Okay, take a plunge. Take a plunge. Say to yourself right now. Take 2 seconds and say, I'm worth X amount, and really fully believe it. Okay, because if you don't believe it, how the fuck is your client gonna believe it? Sorry,
exactly.
Sorry, I dropped the F-bomb, but
it's fine. We're all adults here, hopefully.
Right.
Maybe I need to put it like an 18-year-older thing in the login.
That's all good. I'll
But
just bleep it out.
really quick, you did mention something important. You do have to ramp up to this. I don't want anybody watching this video thinking that they're just going to get off a cold start freelance career and get on Freelancing Guru and be able to charge what John and I are charging for services like that. No, like we talked about in the last video, you have to have that 2-week period where you're bidding lower than everybody else. But we also talked about how you don't want to bid on huge jobs and lowball them. So you don't want to have somebody who has a budget between $500 and $1,000 and you're the guy bidding $200 hoping you'll get it. No, you want to bid on a job that's under $500 that will take you an hour and you bid $40, $50
That's
because you're still getting paid $40, $50 an hour. Now later on you'll be able to get those same jobs for $150, $200. But right off the bat you want to do that. So here's the careful balance between how to charge what you're worth in the beginning, but also start small to where you can ramp yourself up. As a freelancer, you have to I was horrible at math before I started freelancing. I had to be better at it, because what you have to do is you have to start understanding how much work is a particular job going to take, how much time is it going to take you, how much are you getting paid for that, and then you have to factor in things like revisions and stuff like that.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out the best way to kind of transition here, and so here's what I will say. Charging what you're worth, you wanna figure that out. So here's what I would say. Charge what you're, you obviously are starting out if you're watching this video. So what you want to do is you want to start out small, but make a goal for yourself over the next 4 or 5 months to the middle of this year where you want to be, okay? Because what's going to start happening, and what happens to a lot of freelancers is this, and then we'll get into the next session. What happens to a lot of freelancers is they start out with, let's say, $25 an hour, and they never friggin' go over it.
Right.
They stay there because they think, well, my clients already know that I charge $25 an hour, and if I charge more than that, then they're going to get sick of me or whatever. They get so used to everybody saying, oh, $25 an hour works for me, or something else that happens, they'll get clients every once in a while that says, oh, that's kind of expensive, and they have to reel them in. The thing is that people who stay in that stagnant area end up getting fed up with freelancing, or they never make the money that they could make, or they're having to take on a bunch of clients just to maintain their lifestyle. In order to grow as a freelancer, you have to continuously up your price. And then you get to the point of this. What happens is when you begin upping your price, you will lose clients. Some clients won't want to afford you anymore, and they'll go back to the other people. Okay, me and John say this all the time, and it seems scary, but it's not. Those are not the clients that you want. The more you charge, the higher quality clients you receive. The more you charge, the higher quality of a provider you are. That's just the fact of the matter. So the more you charge, the higher quality you are, the higher quality clients you're going to get. And if you're to that point where you're upping your price, you already have a really good portfolio. You develop that. So once you put in the work, start upping your price. Do not question it. Do not sit there and think, well, $25 an hour is working for me. That's great. What about $75 an hour? What about $100 an hour? Like John said, he started out at $10 an hour. My pricing, probably I was at about $10 to $20 an hour, and every few months, about every 2 or 3 months, I up my hourly rate to about $15 more.
Yeah.
My hourly rate right now is about $120 an hour, but I don't charge hourly rate. So we'll get to that in a minute, though.
Right.
Just as a closing off on that first little part, like John said, you have to continuously charge what you're worth.
Right. Well, think of it this way too. It's like getting a raise at a job. You know, like everyone gets raises at jobs if they do a good job, right? So think of it this way: as a freelancer, consider yourself your own boss, because you are, and consider every month giving yourself a raise if you've done well. Okay, and that raise is just your minimum on pricing, and keep it going, and don't be afraid to charge what you think you're worth, because if you put in the work, which you have to do, it doesn't just fall in your lap. If you put in that work, it's going to come to you, and you'll be able to charge more because people see what you're capable of. So keep that in mind. It's just like a raise at work, only it's a lot faster.
That's a good way to think about it. I gotta stress this one more time. Don't sit there and wonder what people are gonna think.
Right.
If you up your price a little bit, don't sit there and wonder what that potential client or current clients are gonna say. Don't sit there and think, oh man, if I up it, how do I explain to them why it's this much money? Do you have a portfolio? Was that last month? Did you develop a portfolio? Did you work for clients? Did the work you did for those clients make them money? If it made them money, improved their profits, and grew your portfolio, it's time to grow yourself.
Exactly.
You know, I'm not going to sit here and develop a logo and a business name for a company, which allows them to make, you know, $50,000 extra dollars a year, and then have them come back to me and expect us to pay the same price. No, they just made money, so now I'm going to make more money.
And you know, a good truth to that too. You were talking a little bit earlier about how you want those quality clients. I don't know if it's just me or if it's just my industry. I'm sure it's the same for you though, Will. The higher paying clients don't ever seem to give me much pushback when I turn something into them. Like if it's a higher tagged like product, whenever I send them their final product, they don't ask for very many revisions, because it's just like, okay, we paid this much money, we trust you, and then they just enjoy the product in general because they know you're worth that. So it's like the higher you go up, the more you charge, the less pushback you get.
It's the less paying clients that are the
yeah,
bitch.
It's always so weird. Like it sounds so counterintuitive, but like, yeah, literally, it's those $400 clients that are just like penny pinching the shit out of you and ask for 10 different revisions on whatever it is you're working on. It's weird, but you know, it's almost like you're moving up in life, and as you move up, you get that creme de la creme client that doesn't give you bullshit. So it's kind of nice.
No, it's absolutely true, because you know what'll really surprise you as a freelancer, and I think this happened to John and I when we first started upping our prices, is remember when we were at Point Click Shoot and we charged $4,000 for this client out in Vegas, a super affiliate, and at the time we were still lowballing ourselves on pretty much everything. So when we charged this client $4,000 for, I think, a website and some graphic design and a couple videos, we were like, that's a bunch of money is what we were thinking. They got back with us and said that they were really worried, first of all, they were asking for tons of revisions. They were being kind of bitchy, but they said on multiple occasions that they were really, really worried about working with us, because they said this after we got the project, because our pricing was so low.
Yeah,
remember that they were riding our asses way more during that time, because our pricing was quote unquote too low.
That's right. We underbid the shit out of them because we wanted that job really bad. And although $4,000 sounded amazing back then, $4,000 today for what they wanted, like in today's world, man, I would have. If I could go back in time, I'd slap the hell out of both of us for charging that little for that project. And they were absolutely right.
Other teams of people with even a lesser portfolio than we had were charging $15,000 to $20,000 for the same job, and we just didn't get it, because we were sitting around as the nice guys saying, oh, well, you know, that's $4,000, that's enough for us. You know what? When you get to the point where you're ready to be worth more, and you'll know when that's there. We'll talk about it. When you get to that point, you're going to be surprised, because the less money you charge people, I don't know why, they're just more bitchy. And the clients that pay more, they seem to trust you more because of the value. Because there's this innate sense in American society, and I think any developed country, Australia, UK, which I work with a lot, is that you get what you pay for.
Right.
Okay? So if I'm going to a Subway and it's like the $5 foot long, and I'm going to sit there, I'm going to pay attention to every freaking thing they put on my sandwich, because I want to make sure that that cheap sandwich that I'm making isn't going to kill me. It's almost that's the mentality.
That is.
But when you go to a restaurant and you pay like $200 for a meal, do you ever question what they're doing in the kitchen?
Absolutely
no.
not,
It's $200 for a meal. You're like, this is 5-star shit. I'm not worried about it. It's probably going to taste great. It could taste like everything else, but you'll think it tastes better.
Yeah, because that price tag makes it taste that way. Yeah, it really does come down to that.
It's a weird truth, but it is the truth. But definitely charge what you're worth. But remember what we talked about in the last one. You're going to have to ramp up to it, but you don't want to low bid a big job. You want to accurately bid a small job.
Right.
So now we'll get into the ins and outs of kind of handling money as a freelancer, and how to bid on jobs and calculate how much time it's going to take you versus what you're getting paid. Now, first of all, today I got paid a $150 job and a $90 job. Now, I had been off Elance for a couple weeks because I've been working on a personal project, so I had no real money coming in from Elance. I was just kind of living on what I had made a couple weeks prior. So when I got back on Elance this week, I had to make sure that I made money fast. So I actually went for smaller projects. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes I go for jobs that'll pay me $5,000 to $10,000, and that's ghostwriting books. You know, usually they're between $1,000 and $5,000. Occasionally get that gem that's more, but $1,000 to $5,000, I'll charge maybe $3,000, $4,000 for a 60,000 word ghostwriting an ebook, right? But that book takes me all month. That's the only project that I can work on.
Right.
And those jobs are harder to get. When I get back on Elance after a hiatus like that just happened, I'm looking for small, quick jobs that I can complete in one day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I made $240 or so today off two small projects. One was to write a one-page biography for a client, which took me about an hour. The other one was write a 30-second script. Now, here's the thing. Both of them were under $500. The average bid on them was pretty low, about $100, and then I bid the lowest on both of them. Now, this seems contradictory to what I always say, which is don't bid the lowest. But on jobs like these, you have to calculate the situation. Okay, obviously this isn't going to take me long. It's not going to take even like half of my day. So let me think about this. $240 divided by 2. What is that, John? I'm going to look on my calculator. I'm horrible. I said I'm good at math.
I think it's 120, but I'm just guessing. I'm bad at math too.
Yeah, it's 120. So essentially that comes out to $120 an hour.
Yeah.
Now, even if I had just gotten a $90 job today, and what is that, 45 each?
Yeah, 45. Right.
Yeah,
there you go. You get a star.
Even if I had just gotten a $90 job, do the math. It took me an hour. It was really, really easy. No, I'm not going to get rich off of it, but I got paid essentially $45 in an hour.
Right.
So here's what I want you to think about when you're starting out freelancing. Okay, I could have gone on Elance after my hiatus and immediately started looking for jobs that were over $1,000. I could have spent the next 4 to 5 days trying to get one or even longer.
Right.
Or I could have just got on there and low bid an easy job. And I'm still making a good amount of money per day. For a lot of people, making $90 a day for 1 hour a day work, 7 days a week is a pretty good income.
Absolutely. Think of those bartenders out there, those waiters and waitresses, that make money off just tips. That's a good that's a good Wednesday night at a bar.
Yeah, you get somebody that comes off an 8-hour shift, and I've heard bartenders say this time and time again, they'll be like, I made $120 tonight. And I'm gonna be like, well, I made that too off of a script, and it only took me an hour.
Right.
And I lowballed it.
Exactly.
So that's what you got to think about. It's essentially the equation of how much money is it, how much time is it going to take, and what does that come out per hour?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm talking about this now, I think for a lot of people it seems like common sense, but there's probably a lot of other people out there like me who had the thought process of you gotta bid on the big jobs,
right?
Because the big jobs are more important. If I can get $2,000-$3,000 jobs, that's $6,000 in a month. And that's better. Well, I'm going to be over there breaking my back. Those jobs are fewer and further between as if I were to just go do a small job and do it daily and get more of a chance of getting it. So that's the thing is bid price versus completion time. So you always got to think about that. That's what your hourly rate comes down to. And I mean, John, do you do anything similar like that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. If I'm strapped for cash, if it's a month, and especially in the beginning when I started freelancing, I'd come down to the wire where I had like 4 days left to pay for rent or mortgage, and I didn't have any money coming in. So yes, I would totally scavenge that entire network of Elance, Guru.com, and all the other websites that I use, and would typically land 2 or 3 jobs because I have a great portfolio. And I wouldn't necessarily say I underbid, but I bid on those lower ones in general for my price, for what I believe I'm worth. But typically I'll go down as low as $60 an hour. Which is a lot. For most people, that's a lot. But I've come that far where I can do that.
You have the ability to pick and choose.
Right, and that's $60 an hour. Maybe it's a simple edit, can take me literally 1 hour, so it's $60. Yes, I've done that many times just to be able to make do.
And they're not hard, and they're good for when you're feeling lazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when you can drum up $150 to $200 in a day for 2 tiny ass projects, it's fantastic.
Of course, if I feel like going to the beach later this evening or make some money so I can go to the beach, I can do that in the morning, and it's a great feeling to be like, okay, I'm gonna wake up, make this much money, and then head out from here, have a totally okay day from there. It's absolutely amazing. So I would not neglect those smaller jobs when it comes time to making money because you need it on the fly. And keep in mind too that when you do these bigger jobs, when you do these $3,000, $5,000 jobs, there's contracts involved. Typically, there's a lot of communication back and forth. There's weeks of waiting because that money is going to somebody this company's never met before. So they really have to go through the pipeline to make sure this is okay. It takes a long time. So it
takes a really long time, and even for you and me who have been doing this for a long time and we have a great portfolio, it takes freaking forever.
It does.
And you know what though? And I think there are days, and I think you can say this too, where you busted your ass for a big job, and it took you like 2 months, and maybe it went over, and you look back on it, and yeah, there was a large sum of money, but then you think I could have made similar money if every day for that 30 days I just did one tiny ass project.
Yeah, I know. And I think what we're trying to get to the point we're trying to make here is do a bit of both. Like put your bid in for that large job, but don't neglect those smaller ones either, because they're going to make you that money. It's going to be your pocket change for going out to eat dinner, to for going to the beach, for going to an amusement park. Whatever it is you want to do, you can do that with those smaller jobs. Let that be your petty cash. Okay,
smaller jobs is your petty cash. Your big jobs are what makes your name.
Exactly.
And so you want to bid on both, but essentially don't ever do this where you just get on and you only bid on the big jobs. Okay, don't do that. And when you do bid on the big jobs, do it sparingly. Pick the ones that you want to work on, that you're qualified for, that you have at least a little bit of a portfolio for.
Right.
Do that. The rest of the time, bid on the tiny jobs, because that's your just consistent income. That's the ones where people are going to get the work in an hour and they're going to be like, yeah, it looks good. Here's your money, done. Exactly. And that's the way it's going to work.
And it'll build your portfolio. It'll build your portfolio.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. So and just don't look at the fixed price of, like, even let's say it's $40. Don't look at that and go, pissant job, not doing it. No, look at it and say, how long is it going to take? All right, 2 hours. I can do that. It's $20 an hour. When did I get paid $20 an hour? When I was working for someone else. A lot of people our age, mid-20s or so, don't get paid that amount of money. All right, so I guess now getting into a little bit more of the technical stuff. You understand you need to charge what you're worth. You understand that the difference between little jobs and big jobs, and they both are beneficial, and kind of how to balance what you charge versus how long you're working. That being said, now that you know how to come down to how much money you're making per hour, never ever bid on per hour jobs, ever. What would you say?
Great tip. Absolutely great tip. And I 100%, 100,000% agree, man. I mean, charging flat rate is the only way, well, not the only way, but the best way to make money when you're freelancing, okay? And I'll tell you exactly why. The client is going to rape you, or not rape you, which is, I don't know if it's good or bad, depends on which way you're looking at it. But ultimately, they're not going to pay you what you're actually worth. And then likewise, it's not comforting for the client to see that you're charging hourly, because they don't really know you. They don't know your work ethic. They don't know how long it's going to take you. So charging flat rate gives a peace of mind to that client. They see that you're charging X amount, and they see that it's going to take you this amount. You believe that you're worth that amount, and that is what it is. The flat rate is your product. It is what you're going to make for them, and it's exactly what you're worth.
And there's a slightly shadier, I think, reason for it as well. It's not shady. It's just common, and I think even the providers know it. The thing is, like, if you're on Freelancer Guru and you're searching for jobs, make sure to filter out the per hour ones. Because if you do per hour, let's say that your per hour job is $30 per hour, and you see a job on there that's $30 per hour, okay?
Right.
Now, you get on there, and they have a tracking system where it tracks how long you're working, right? There's a couple of reasons that you don't want to do this. First of all, the job could only take you an hour, and you're only going to get paid $30. And you say, well, William, you just said that the small jobs are okay. Yeah, but typically for a fixed price job, for jobs that are only going to take you an hour, you can charge way higher. Because the people that want to charge you per hour got a stick up their ass, okay? They're trying. It's almost the equivalent of having like a RFID chip implanted to your neck, so they know where you're going every 5 seconds.
Right, they know exactly what you're doing at all times. Yeah.
And if you miss even like one status update, they'll argue with you on whether or not they should pay you that hour and were you actually working and everything else. It's like you're in a concentration camp. It's ridiculous. So it stifles creativity. It stifles your ability as a worker, and it's just a bad client relation to begin with. And any provider or potential client that wants to charge per hour, there'll be two reasons for that. Number one, they've done it in the past, and they know exactly the reason why they're doing it, because they want to keep control of you, they want to keep track of you, they want to make sure that they're getting the biggest bang for their buck, which is irresponsible. And the reason why it's irresponsible on behalf of the potential client is because any potential client that understands dealing with a creative field or even like a contracting field in general, they understand that they are paying the guy to be able to do it the best that they can. They need to pay and lay off.
Right. See, this isn't an assembly line, okay? You don't just punch in, you do your thing, and you punch out. Okay, you as a creator, have moments where you just sit back, you relax, you let your mind flow. If you're a writer or if you're a producer by any means, like you have to be able to have those images come in your head. And if you're forcing those with the time clock staring right at you, it's not going to work that well, I guess you could say.
You don't put Don Draper on a per hour job. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't say that you're not coming up with an idea quick enough.
Right.
And I just paid $30 for you to sit there and stare at the wall.
Right. And so in order to avoid that miss in general, like just because that's a big miss on both ends. For the contractor, you can sit around and say, yeah, it took me this much time, but you might be lying. Okay. And that's not fair to the client. And likewise, the client can come back and say, well, why did it take you so long? Never mind, I don't want this, and then cut it off. And then you're out of a job. Okay, so I think the best way to do it is, yes, flat rate 100%, because then you guys can both breathe a bit, knowing that you agreed on a specific fixed price. You're going to do your thing, and it could take you 4 hours, it could take you 3 days. And the client, you tell the client how long it will take you, and they'll understand, and they'll sit back and let you think, and let you do your thing. So I think it works much better on both ends to do the flat rate. And specifically for me in my industry, I love that. The flat rate just kind of gives both people the peace of mind they need to do their job and to
it's
see the
simple and
final
it's
product.
easy.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the times with the flat rate when dealing with a client, this happens more on John's end, I think, than it does mine. Because with me, it's like, 3 pages of this many words. Yeah,
Right.
here's my rate. Okay.
Mhm.
But with John, for example, he's got a lot of equipment involved and everything like that. So he typically does a proposal first,
Right.
where he bullet points out what they're getting, what will be delivered with that amount of money, and that's good enough. It's mutually signed and it's good. There's a terms of service agreement, which is fantastic. We'll get into all those specifics of client dealings though on the next video.
Mhm.
So we'll kind of save some of that. Right now, we just want to stick with the money. But yeah, it's much better on the fixed rate, flat rate
Yeah.
job, and for reasons that we just explained with how clients. The other reason a client would do that is just simply because they haven't worked with contractors a lot, so they don't know that doing hourly rate is not preferred in that situation.
Mhm.
You simply be the freelancer. You're in business for yourself, so you just say, listen, we're gonna have to do a fixed rate. I don't do hourly. If they buck you with that, just fuck them. Don't deal with them.
Just move on. And I think that's perfectly fine too. I mean, if you've got clients that are going to be giving you pushback like that, you don't want them. We've said this before. You don't want those clients are going to give you a lot of shit for very petty cash. Okay, so just move on. There's a lot more fish in the sea, if you will.
Yeah.
So just go with something else. But
that being said, even though you're not getting paid per hour, doesn't mean that you don't need to be tracking yourself.
Right.
What now we talked about, charging amount of money and then what you're getting paid per hour based on how much you're working for that amount of money. So you want to make, and you're going to go through plenty of learning experiences as a freelancer. In this way, you're going to find out, because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to charge for something that you thought was going to take X amount of time, and it took way more time because it was more difficult or something like that. There's two things you can do in that situation. Once you see that the project is much more difficult than you thought it was, you can either tell the client and say, look, I need to up the price on this. It's a little bit more difficult than I thought it was. Or number two, you can cancel. And there's something very important with that. It's okay to cancel. John and I cancel jobs all the time. We'll start a job and then we'll get into it, and maybe we got 2 other jobs and we're like, you know what? Those 2 other jobs are a lot simpler, and for the money I'm getting paid, more profitable, which it comes out to more money per hour because I can get it done quicker. It's more simple for me.
Right.
This job is going to keep me going out of my mind. It's going to take more time than I thought I did, which comes out to less money per hour in general. You know what? Cancel. And,
Exactly.
and at first it's painful until you start to realize you make more money and you're more streamlined by canceling projects consistently that you just do not have any interest in working on.
Right. And there's something to be said about that, and it is that when you cancel something, you're able to basically vanquish the whole project. So the client doesn't get to rate you because you canceled it. And that's my biggest fear. I remember I actually called Will and asked him, hey, is it okay if I cancel this job? Because I've never canceled a job before. This was a couple years ago. And Will said, absolutely, you can cancel it, because if you cancel it, the client can't give you negative feedback. And so nobody, at that point, nobody wins. It's a lose-lose. Everyone walks away. The one thing I do want to tell you, though, is don't spend the money that they give you. If they give you and we'll talk about this in a second, the deposit, the 50% upfront deposit, if they give you X amount of money, you have to return that money. So if you're using, like, let's say Elance, it's going to ask you to give a refund to the client if you cancel the project. Okay, so big tip there. When you get paid your deposit that we're about to talk about, don't spend it right away. But don't be afraid. Don't shy away from that cancellation. It
Do
saved me
not be
multiple
afraid to
times.
cancel projects. When you cancel projects, you free yourself up. I mean, there's been so many situations where okay, let's say I got 3 projects going on in the roster. I just got awarded 3 projects today. 2 of them are super freaking easy. They're like going to take me a few hours. I understand the subject matter. And so it comes out to me making about $80 an hour, which I'm very comfortable with. I'm going to take a couple hours and do this 160. And there's this other project that's for $500. Okay. And at first I thought I can do this project easy. It's a $500 project. I need the money. And then let's say it's an ebook for me. Okay. So I'm looking at it and then I realize, number one, I don't really get this subject matter. It's going to take a lot of research. Okay. Number 2, the client, the information that they provided me once the project was started is way more in depth over my head than when I started. Also, the client is maybe being pushy. So then all of a sudden I started getting stressed out. Number 1, when a job starts stressing me out, I shut it down. It used to be that I would deal with the stress, that I would kill myself over jobs that I freaking hated, doing way more research. So this $500 job, okay, I've worked on, there's 2 examples of that $500 job, quote unquote, on an ebook. I've worked on 20,000 word ebooks that are $500 that I charge, right? One of them I could finish in 4 to 5 hours because I understand the subject matter. Others take 2 weeks. And I'm stressed out about it. And the more I'm working on it, the more I can't work on other projects.
Yeah.
So that $500 stretches out, and it ends up to where I'm making like $15 an hour, and I wasted my time. I had no time to do anybody else's project. So you don't want to be stressed as a freelancer. The whole point of being a freelancer is that it's simple, and you want to stay with simple jobs that are good paying. So if you find that you're getting stressed, analyze the situation. Stop right there. That's your first red flag. Look at the situation. If there's any stress, if there's any waking up in the morning being like, oh crap, I got to work on this project, I'm really worried about this, it shouldn't be that way. Look at it. If it's too much, cancel it. If you find yourself working on it longer than you should, cancel it. And I'm not saying 3 weeks into the project, cancel it because you found out it was taking longer. No, within the first day or 2, you should realize that it's going to take longer or not, and that you're stressed out about it. Cancel it.
Yeah, you should know right from the beginning. I mean, it's not something that grows with time. It's literally when the first 48 hours, you're going to know, hey, I really want this, or, because we all have that high when we get those jobs. When you get awarded a job, you're like, yes, I got it, I'm in, totally. And if the minute after that glory disappears and you suddenly realize, oh fuck, like this isn't going to be good, this isn't going to be fun, the client already sucks, yeah, just cancel it, just drop it. You're going to save yourself a lot of stress.
The hardest / best thing that you're going to learn as a freelancer, and any creative individual for that matter, is say no. Is learning to say no.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. And I think every freelancer goes through the same thing, especially when they first start out. Every creative person does too. This is why freelancers and creative people have gotten to the point where everyone else thinks that they can milk them for free. This is why photographers don't get paid shit. This is why artists don't get paid shit. Yep. Is because they're afraid to charge. They can't say no. And they don't stand up for themselves, so they do huge projects for a minimal amount of money just because, and so it makes the rest of the world think that us creatives and us freelancers are cheap and that they can get away with charging that crap. Well, it's not true. As a freelancer, as a creative, learn to say no, be proud of saying no, get rid of it. It may be worrisome there, but I guarantee you'll get a project right after that you actually like doing.
I agree with that entirely.
And I guess let's talk about the deposit now. Now that you know that you should only work on a fixed price and that your hourly rate is only what that fixed price is going to... So it's basically, fixed price versus how long it's going to take you, that's your hourly rate. But you shouldn't charge on an hourly rate basis. You charge a fixed price. Right. Now, on the fixed price, I would say this, John, I have a limit. If a project is under $200, I don't do a 50% up front. I just require escrow.
Sure. And that's totally doable. Yeah. That makes sense. $200 is petty cash when it comes to a freelance job on Elance or any of those other ones. And for those of you who don't know what escrow is, it's basically where the client puts money into a retainer account where you can both see it, but neither of you can touch the money. So what that tells you is it says, okay, the money is now there. I see it, and I'm going to be able to do the work. And when I'm done with the work, the money will be released. No questions asked. That's how that works. Okay.
Basically, it's like you and your client are on the other end of the table, okay, and then the client takes the money and it puts it in the middle of the table, and there's a security guard there.
Yeah.
Once that client puts the money in the middle of the table, you can't get that money until your client's satisfied with the job you just did,
Correct.
and the client can't get their money back until you both agree to refund.
Right.
Okay. So
Right.
there's a certain level of security involved. And with elanceandguru.com, when you do an escrow, it's fantastic. They have a great arbitration service. So if there is a dispute, they'll contact you. They'll get it taken care of,
Right.
all in a legal standing. But so here's what I do. For jobs under $200, I don't require a deposit. I'm just like, you know what, this job, typically that's a small job. If it's under $200, it's a small job. It's a day job, okay, with limited revision. So I'll just say you have to fund the escrow. But this is very important. Never, ever, in any circumstance, no matter how small the job is, I don't care if it's $10, do not start it if the money is in escrow. There's been at least 3 or 4 different occasions on Elance, and I guess I don't know why I didn't learn off the first one, where I had small jobs, $50 to $100. And, the client agreed, and I saw that I could get the job done really quick. So before they escrowed the money, I just went ahead and did the jobs. I was like, I'll get this done really quick. Sent them the work, never heard from them again. Because they didn't put the money in escrow, I had no way to contact the arbitration service in Elance and request my money, track them down, anything. There was literally nothing I could do because I didn't protect myself. So don't even do that. Now, for jobs over $200, I require a 50% non-refundable deposit. The greatest piece of math that you're ever going to learn as a freelancer is this one thing: 50% non-refundable.
Right. Always. Always.
Yeah.
For anything over 200.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So first of all, you got burned, and I'm going to say right here that I have been burned many times as well for various reasons that are just like yours. I was careless in what I was doing, and the client. I've had clients that I've been super loyal to, and they've been loyal to me as well, and have burned me in the very end because I think at the end of the day they ran out of money, and I had no way of knowing that. So when I did my job, I thought I'd get paid just like I normally would. So boom, all of a sudden I'm out of my job is out there, my work is out. I've published it to them, and I have no money in my hands, and it really sucks when that happens.
The thing about the escrow is that when it's in the escrow, they did pay the money, so the money's already out of the account, so you know that they have it.
Exactly, and that's the biggest thing, especially when you're doing the bigger jobs. You want to make sure the money's there. You want to be able to visually see it in the escrow, so you can say, okay, I have a peace of mind now, and I'll do this job because I know the money's waiting for me when it's over, and when both parties are happy. One of my biggest tips that I have for a lot of the people that I work with and for a lot of other freelancers is to always make sure you protect your work, because even though there is an escrow, even though there is that whole fail-safe system, there have been moments where I've had kind of a fault where I sent somebody something and then they disputed it. We took care of it, refunded it, but you know what? The client still fucking used my work and put it on their website.
They had the work because you shared the file with them or emailed it to them.
Exactly.
So if you did a video, and even if it was all refunded, they still took your work. And then there's a whole legal battle you can't even afford to
exactly, because at that point it's like not even worth it because you don't have the money to do it. So here's what I would suggest for any types of work that are visually induced, like such as photography, videography, and even graphic design. Always, always, always use a watermark. Like put a watermark either on the sideways like this or like in the corner somewhere where it's visually apparent, and obviously it's gonna blockade them from using your work without your permission, without you saying, okay, this is the final piece. What that is called is it's a comp. It's essentially a composition that they're looking at, and it's just an example of what you're actually going to give them. So for me, I put a big old watermark on top of my video, and it's transparent, like you can kind of see through it, obviously, because I don't want to intrude on the video I've created for them, but that is there as a comp, so they can't steal it. And if they put it on their website, if they put that comp on their website, it looks like it's stolen because there's a big old watermark with my logo on top of it, okay?
And they're more apt to pay you faster.
Absolutely. That's the second point is I've had clients that take, like, once you give them the product, they take their sweet ass time releasing the funds or sending you that check or whatever it is that you're charging or however you're charging. But when you put that watermark on their logo or on their piece of project or product, and they see the video or they see whatever you've created for them and they enjoy it, they want to get that unwatermarked version ASAP. So they're going to be more inept to pay you. And when that happens, when they finally pay you, you can finally send them the final comp, and everyone's happy at that point. So biggest tip for you guys is just always make sure you protect your work, even with that escrow, even with having an Elance failsafe or Guru failsafe and so forth. Okay, because you will get burned otherwise. Thankfully, we're here to teach you how to do that, how not to do that, because we've been burned in the past, and I hate seeing people get fucked out of money, man. It's the worst.
And another thing is, like, I think a lot of freelancers initially, especially if they have never asked for 50% up front of the total cost, if it's over a certain amount, I would say $200 is a safe place.
Yeah.
When you start getting into the bigger ones, is I think a lot of them are worried about asking. Look, here's the thing. In the freelance industry, if any one of these businesses contracting out and they're paying more than $200, chances are they dealt with contractors in the past, and this is the norm. This is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everybody, any reputable company that contracts out or subcontracts knows that this is the norm.
Right.
For jobs over a certain amount of money, everybody charges 50% up front. Okay?
Yep.
So don't sit there and think, "Oh man, they're gonna get mad at me, or they're gonna shut down the project if I require 50% up front." Don't worry about it. Just always request it. No, actually require it. And
Right.
I'm gonna say require it because there's been situations where I didn't require it and I still got screwed over. I ended up doing way more work. What the 50% up front ensures is this. And here's the problem you get when you start having larger projects. When it gets upwards of $200, gets to $1,000, $5,000 in situations like that, is that those are longer term projects, okay? They're bigger projects. So what that 50% upfront, non-negotiable, non-refundable ensures you is if that project goes sideways, if business negotiations break down horribly, if everything goes horribly fucking wrong, okay, you still have money to show for your time.
Right. That's absolutely right. And I've had clients do that to me offline in real time. I've had a client that we worked, we had a $6,000 project and he paid 50% up front. We worked for 2 months straight. And at the end of those 2 months, he's like, you know what? This just isn't working out. You guys did a lot of work for me, but it isn't working out. So we're going to go our separate ways. We were paid $3,000. Everyone was happy because no one could come to a consensus, but he did understand that we took time to make this project happen. So we were all happy, and
those
that's going to
bigger
happen.
clients are going to understand that reason for the deposit. They know why it's there
because
you know why it's there.
It's
if they ask questions about and they're bitching about it, just hold to your guns. They will do the deposit. They will, if they want to work with you, they will always do the deposit.
Yeah. If they don't,
and if they ask why, just tell them because it's to protect myself.
Right. If they don't, there's something to be said about this. It's scary. You should kind of double check who you're working with at that point, because I'd be running the other way if they didn't want to pay you 50%. If they don't understand it, if you have to explain it to them, that's probably not the best project for you to work on, okay? Because it could lead to a little more turmoil down the road.
Yeah, and it's no fun, to have a project canceled. But at least if you have that 50% up front, it's good. And there's another reason for the 50% up front that I'll say. A lot of times with these large projects, you see, you won't have time to work on any other projects during the time that you're working on that one. So let's say you get hired for a big project at the beginning of the month and the deadline is at the end of the month. Well, because that project's a large project and it's going to take a lot of your time, you don't have time to make money in the middle.
Right.
Okay, so what that 50% also does, aside from protect you, is it funds you. Is it funds your working time so that you can eat and pay your rent and pay your bills while you're waiting to get paid for the final 50%.
They're buying your time at that point. They're literally buying your time by giving you half up front. And that way you can sleep at night comfortably knowing that you still have money in the bank while you're working. Yeah.
Exactly, because you don't want to say it's a $6,000 job. It's going to take you a month, but the money's in escrow. You can't access it until it's finished, because then you can't. Then you're going to have to do other smaller jobs every day in order to make money while you're doing this huge one. And one or the other is going to give. You're going to have to either cancel the project or you're just going to kill yourself trying. But that's also why it's non-negotiable, okay, and non-refundable. Because the thing is that 50% up front, you're going to spend it. Some people who are more well off and have a greater contingency at the start of their freelance career use the 50% deposit as a deposit, and it is refundable, but they use it as a sign of good faith.
Right.
I use it as three things: a sign of good faith, and also the fact if the job goes wrong, I still got paid, and number three, because I need to spend the money now. I need something to spend while I'm working on the project.
Of course.
That's why it's non-refundable.
Yeah.
And there's been situations where a project has gone on too long and I've run out of that 50% money, but it's going well with the client. It's going fantastic, and I'll ask for the another 25% of the funds, and
Yeah.
they perfectly comply with it because they understand.
Yeah,
There's another way that
milestones will
yeah.
change. I was going to say milestones can change easily, and for Elance, if you have 50% upfront, they give it to you. You've given them extra product, or you've met those deadlines. You can add in milestones from there. Okay, don't be afraid to ask for more money because it's taking this long to create a project or to finish one. So always keep that in mind.
That made me think that there's another way besides just the 50% up front to do business. And you may get some clients that want to do it this way, which is completely fine, where they're funded through milestones. So
Right.
let's say if I'm writing a book, then there's 9 chapters, then we do 3 milestones. So they fund 25% of the overall cost on the first milestone, and then once I complete that, they fund and release the next milestone.
Right.
Once I complete that, they fund and release the next milestone.
Yeah, and
it's a fantastic way to do business.
I paid a lot of my contractors that way too, because we're doing a month's worth of work, and it's like $2,000 of a project, and I don't want to pay them right away because A, maybe I don't have the money to pay them all at once, or because B, I just don't feel like paying them that much at once. So yeah, having those milestones, having like 33.3% come out within a week and a half every week for 4 or 5 weeks, that's a really great way to get paid too, because then
it's a good way to keep the contractor motivated to get to the next milestone.
Exactly.
And it's a good a consistent stream of money coming in for the project as well. I mean, right. I'll say this, there's been plenty of times where I got that 50% up front and I knew it was a month-long job, and I just sat around sipping on tequila at the beach for the first 2 weeks, not doing jack shit, spending the 50% up front to realize that, oh crap, now I got to do work.
Exactly.
But never has that happened when I've had those quarter milestones where I'm like, okay, I got to do it this year so I can get to the next milestone. So there is a certain level of kind of work ethic when you got the quartered out milestones. I guess the last thing to talk about, and John, I think that you're way more responsible in this area than I am. Is budgeting for contingency.
Right.
So when there's slow times, and your slowest times as a freelancer, it depends on what niche you're in, but typically it's like holidays, where all the department stores are getting super busy on the holidays. People stop spending so much money on their business during the holidays, and they're kind of like sitting around waiting for the new year to kick in before they start spending money for spring, for marketing efforts or graphic design or writing or video and stuff like that. But you got to plan for those times where you're going to have a dry spell. Even if it's not the off season for freelancing, there's going to be times where you're dry for like a week and a half because just no jobs are coming up. There's nothing good being posted, or you're just not getting hired. So you've got to make sure that you budget for that. And I think a good way, John's got this covered. He's much more responsible than I am.
So. And I think it's just a little 101 on financing in general. And I'll just kind of, you guys might already know this, but I'm going to go ahead and reinstate it. Just sit down one day, if you're starting to do freelancing, and budget out how much the cost of living is for you per month. Okay, for me, it's I don't want to give a exact number, but let's just say for me,
John's a millionaire. He doesn't
I'm just gonna say, let's say the cost of living for me were somewhere between $1,800 to $2,200 a month. Okay, $2,200 a month. That's how much it takes for me to survive per month. So when you're starting out and you're starting to make a lot of money, you want to make sure you have at least 3 months worth how much the cost of living is per month. Okay, so for 3 months, so for
3 month retainer.
Yes, exactly. So for me, those 3 months, 2,200 times 3. I can't do that math right now because I'm terrible at math.
Don't worry about it. You know what? If you're watching this video, you obviously have a calculator on your computer. Deal with it.
Yeah. So ultimately, just save for 3 month retainer, because if you don't have that, and there are slow months anywhere between October and January, or end of December at least.
October to January is like typically like I get barely
pretty dead. It's pretty dead, and it gets kind of scary because you've got. I mean, you're sitting here and you've got family you got to buy gifts for and stuff too. So it's like, shit, what do I do? You not only do you not have money to survive, but you also don't have money for gifts or for food or for getting home for the holidays, and that's always kind of scary. So always make sure you have at least that 3 month retainer. I typically do have 4 months myself. And
do you take a certain percentage of each amount of money that you make and put it away for savings and then also contingency?
Yeah, and there's also the fact that there's taxes involved. Okay, and that gets a little.
I was about to get into that taxes.
Yeah. Yeah. taxes are a little rough, but ultimately, and I think I've heard the general rule before is to whenever you get paid as a freelancer to save 10% for taxes. And I'll be honest, I don't do that, but mostly because I do a lot of expense back into my own account, company. So when I make a lot of money, I will spend some to buy new equipment, to fund certain more projects that are for my company. So I got a lot of expenses.
And
So
what are you an LLC or sole proprietor? I forget.
I'm an LLC,
Okay.
limited liability company.
LLC, limited liability company, entails a couple of things. First of all, if anybody sues John, they have to sue the company beforehand. They can't sue his person. So if you're a sole proprietor, for example, they will sue you rather than the company. So you'll go bankrupt instead of the company, if something really horrible happens. But the other good thing is that you get a lot of tax write-offs. You can, this is something you need to research on your own. But working from home, there are a lot of tax write-offs that you can do, but you need to do the research. You need to talk to somebody over at H&R Block, try and figure out how you can claim your home as an office, claim your internet bill as work expenses, claim the coffee that you bought down the street as a work expense, the gas that you travel that day is a work expense, which is a lot easier if you're LLC, but you can do it as a sole proprietor too.
That's true.
And the thing is though that because if you don't do that, you're going to end up paying a lot of money back.
Yeah.
See, a lot of other people that they have a normal job, they get a tax return while you're sitting around bitching because you got to spend $2,000-$3,000 back to the government.
Right.
That'll be a hell of a lot less money if you pay attention to any tax write-offs that you can get, or claim yourself as an LLC.
Yeah, and I think we could probably do an entire video on financing, which we'll probably do in the near future for some other stuff we have to take care of, because I have a lot of tips on that. I have a really great app that I use that helps me invoice as well as keep record of everything I spend, so that I can just give that to H&R Block at the end of the year, and they go, okay, cool, and then from there they do my taxes, everything's good to go. So there's so much information. I don't even want to get into that because we could talk about it for another hour.
This is our longest video so far.
We're at almost an hour.
John and I always get on these things saying that, well, we'll just do like a 20-minute, 20-minute video.
We agreed 20, 30 minutes. It's been literally an hour, so.
Yeah. Next video, basically what we'll be talking about is client relations, which John and I have dealt with a lot over time. We'll basically be talking to you about how to deal with troubled clients, like ones that are really pissing you off, ones that are giving you a hard time. How to deal with clients up front before you get the project, during the project, and after the project is finished.
Yeah.
And also how to protect yourself with clients, with how to craft a terms of service agreement and invoicing and everything else. So we'll talk about that next video. I think this is pretty good, right, John?
Yeah, right on, man. Yeah, entire workflow next week, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure joking and talking with you all. So you guys enjoy your weekend, enjoy your week, enjoy your night, whatever, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Also, don't forget to vote for me to wear a dress.
See, you're excited about it.
I'm not excited
See you
about
guys.
it. Bye.